That's right, a secret feud. When I say secret, I don't mean the WWE has kept it hush-hush. I mean when you actually get into it and we go over the last 12 to 24 months, all of a sudden you go, well, holy critical man. Can't swear this early in a YouTube video. WWE really has changed. What am I looking at? That's right, my friends. Today we are indeed going to be talking about Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. I'm recording this video in early December. And on Monday, they had their big Monday Night Raw match when it was Drew McIntyre taking on Sami Zayn. And of course, it's essentially when we cemented the Drew heel turn because Sami Zayn fell on his leg. I was like, oh, my knee really hurts. I'm very, very sad. Panda about this. And Drew was like, well, I don't care. No sympathy for no one now. I need to win. I need world championships. I just need success in order to get over my losses. So I'm going to boot you right in your knee. I'm going to give you the Claymore kick. 1, 2, 3. I win. You suck. Claymore! And of course, what were they talking about in the promo segment before that? Everything that had gone on with the bloodline in 2022 and early 2023. Now, in case you don't know, I'll catch you up to speed. It was at Clash at the Castle over here in Drew's fake hometown of Wales. It was so funny when they did that. Where, of course, Solo Sikoa debuted on the main roster and he screwed over Drew McIntyre, costing him the Universal Championship. And then you go forward to the Elimination Chamber, where on a B show, let's not forget, so many people thought Sami Zayn was actually going to do it, and in front of one of the most heated crowds ever, I would suppose, or at least of modern times, came this close. Honestly, I watched that whole thing. I remember it. I thought, oh my gosh, he's going to do it. And then once again, the bloodline did their thing. They carried on with all their interference, and Sami Zayn lost. Once again, everybody was super duper pissed. So that is what they were discussing when they got into their own beef, because Drew McIntyre was saying none of this is fair. All of this is absolute nonsense. And don't you get in my face, Sami Zayn, and tell me you understand where I'm coming from. You brought your own demise on yourself. You were in the bloodline. You were one of the reasons I got screwed over, and Kevin Owens and everybody else. You were helped pulling the strings. So what did you think was going to happen when you did leave? Of course, they were going to make sure they came after you to get your revenge. Whereas Zayn was like, well, no, that's not true. Much like you, Mr. McIntyre, I made my mistakes. I made my errors. But rather than go around and bitching and moaning and crying and being like, oh, it's everybody else other than me, I went out there, I main evented WrestleMania on night 1 with my best friend Kevin Owens, and we won the tag team titles. From who? The Bloodline. I absolutely love this because it does tie into something we have talked about here a few times, so you'll have to forgive me. But WWE has gone from just going, man, remember that story that happened back when? Just pretend it didn't, right? Let's just make a secret handshake deal. You think you saw something go down, actually you didn't see diddly squat. To now being like, nope, we can get like a year down the line. When the hell was Clash at the Castle? Like September 2022? So that's 12 months, October. Like 15 months. What's going on with my brain? But 15 months later, you still have Drew talking about that pay-per-view premium live event and telling you that's the reason why he is going through a transformation right now. I mean, even if we had done it for the Elimination Chamber, which was back in February, that's amazing for WWE. But for me, it has just totally reestablished what you can expect from World Wrestling Entertainment when you do tune in now. A show like Raw or SmackDown doesn't just live on an island on itself. Like, you don't just tune on a Monday and you get 3 hours, and you get to the next Monday, you get another 3 hours. There is not only a connective tissue week to week, but if you are a massive nerd and you've been watching for the last 10, 15 years, who the hell knows what they're going to stumble across? Like when Randy Orton came back, do you know why one of the reasons Randy was on Raw before he signed with SmackDown? Because somebody, I presume Triple H, was like, well, no, we have to do some kind of resolution between him and Jey Uso, because Jey Uso was one of the reasons Randy wasn't here. So they wanted to pop a rating, and Randy Orton's a massive star, but that was in one of the tick points, and I just think that absolutely rocks, and it's something that we can keep doing. Now, actually, if I was going to give a poster boy for this, it would be Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens does not forget anything, to the point it's one of the reasons he was so no Sami Zayn. I'm not going to be your buddy again because you've been so terrible. But the fact that you did have a Drew McIntyre, massive star, and a Sami Zayn, massive star, arguably the best year he's ever had in WWE, talking about things that had happened years ago, quite literally, I just thought it was great. And it also allows you to have more patience with the product, which, yes, is the name of my new EP. It ties into the CM Punk stuff that we always chat about. I know, boring. As of me recording this video, I don't know when it's going to go live. We haven't got to the first SmackDown he's going to be on, so we're still surviving off the first promo he did on Raw a couple of weeks ago. And people have raised a few eyebrows. Are we going to get corporate Punk? Is this PG Punk? Blah, blah, blah. I have gone the other direction. And once again, I'm putting my faith in WWE. I think it's going to lead somewhere. And I think when we get to January, February, March, and of course April, WrestleMania 40 time, we'll be able to look back on the verbiage he did drop and be like, you can't believe it. Of course we were going to head this way. And then I think it almost gives that promo a second life or a rebirth or whatever the hell you want to call it, as opposed to just to being something that someone said on one show. And that is why I never want to pull the trigger too early. People tuned into that and they just wanted to see him go, I hate AEW and I hate you, Vince McMahon and Triple H, and I'm going to burn everything to the ground. And look, I would have loved that too. We would have gone crazy. We would have made content about it. But I'm much more about emotionally investing in things, and I'm much more about the long-term storyline because wrestling goes on forever. So if you can be patient, there's that word again, and you can not get carried away. I just think down the line, you get the ultimate payoff, which is the likes of Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn having a conversation that if you've only just started watching wrestling, you'd be like, perplexed. What are they talking about? Now that comes down to the company, and that comes down to the commentators, and of course that comes down on you in going out there and reading stuff. But it means that WWE is less about a shot of adrenaline in the arm, and it's more like a sitcom, it's more like a drama, it's more like a TV series. Because sometimes they do callbacks. There are a negative minority, I suppose, and more power to you, you'll have to have this opinion. They're like, well, why are you talking about that? There are some individuals who weren't around and they're going to be massively confused by it, which I do totally get. But that's why you have to put other fail-safes in there. And we don't ask this requirement of, I don't know, I'm not really watching any TV shows at the moment. Narcos. I've restarted watching Narcos recently. Like, Narcos doesn't have a catch-up. You know, some series you tune in, it goes, last time on Narcos. And you get like a, I don't know what you call it, like a sizzle reel or whatever. I don't think Narcos does that, but it is on you. I mean, I guess it's a little bit different because that's a Netflix streaming thing and you can binge it. But it is on you to go back and try and figure out, or go back to episode 1. Now, obviously, you can't do that with wrestling because it's been going on since like 1847. But you do have these other things in place that can tell people what's going on. And I think it's one of the reasons why WWE is booming. It always starts with the product, right? If what you're seeing week to week is no good, you're not going to tune back in. But I think they are playing to the audience less. They're giving the audience more credit. They're saying, listen, we understand you fans are intelligent and we understand we don't have to beat you over the head with stuff. There's less exposition. Like, that happens in wrestling all the time. You literally get someone look at the camera and go, I hate this person because of X, Y, Z. You're like, well, you just took all the fun out of that, but it's because they want to get to the end point as soon as they possibly can. I also think this is kind of proved in the sense there is no December pay-per-view and there is no January pay-per-view apart from the Royal Rumble, but sometimes we used to get an early January pay-per-view, premium live event. But now WWE is so confident in their storytelling, they're like, we can get through all December and we can get through most of January because it's the last weekend in that month when you get the Royal Rumble, and then we get to the Rumble, we'll have so many feuds ready to cook, and that will lead us right into WrestleMania. Because again, maybe they're going to do CM Punk versus Seth Rollins at the Royal Rumble. Maybe you give one a win there, then they repeat it at WrestleMania, and the other one gets a win, and they're 1-1. I kind of think, it depends who else you have in line, but I do understand why some people are like, well, I don't want that, because the first one's going to be the biggest one. But if they do decide to hold it off to WrestleMania 40, go back after everything I've just said. We can plant the seeds, we can put the breadcrumbs down, and they'll be able to do it. That's the thing. As long as they carry on with this new approach, and I don't see why they wouldn't, because again, numbers are through the roof. I totally believe that they are going to do it. I did a video about this the other day, so I don't want to hammer it into the ground too much. It's why I'm all good with Roman Reigns holding the belt for the last 7,962 days. It does start with that. You couldn't just ignore everything else he'd done, because that would then negate the title reign. The whole point is you had to go, he's beating this guy and that guy, and he did this, and he did a backflip, and whoop-de-doo. Look how many championships he's got. And naturally now, I mean, from him, if we're talking about Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre, that was bloodline-related stuff. We've now been able to craft these much more interesting characters. And it could be why a lot of people are saying that Drew McIntyre's heel turn is one of the best we've done in a long-ass time. That's because it had sense to it, and it had believability, and it had logic. When you just do a swerve for a swerve, it's like cool at the time, and you get a reaction because fans do like see people switch sides because we're weird people. It's like Star Wars, I suppose. But it doesn't have the same gravitas. It doesn't have the same impact. Whereas that one, there wasn't even really a moment when you were like, oh my gosh, he was doing it, and then it got worse and worse and worse, and then bada bing, bada boom, here we are. So I think there is every chance that we could do Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn at a Royal Rumble or a WrestleMania. I know we just did it randomly on Raw, but the fact that Drew injured Sami, and he should go away for a while now, 1 week, 2 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever it may be. I mean, if Sami Zayn doesn't come back to the Royal Rumble, then he enters and he's the guy that eliminates Drew McIntyre, once again stopping him from becoming the world champion. I think you've got some real meat on those bones. Now, with that said, yes, I think Drew McIntyre has to be the champion sooner rather than later to really justify what he has done and prove that he was right. But either way, yeah, I just think this has been super, super cool. When I was in the shower, that's when it happened. All of these thoughts came into my brain, and I was like, yeah, we got to talk about it. And of course, please, if you did like that video, interact with this video as much as you can. Subscribe, hit the bell. There's a video on the screen. I got merchandise, Patreon. Look, just look in the description if you're thinking, man, I'd love to support that guy and his wonderful bald head. That would be great. It's all down there, but most importantly, thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you soon.